with our host, Dr. Mohammed. Dr. Mohammed, how are you? And what we are going to be doing the next couple of weeks, which is going to be a lot of fun, is reviewing the different ChatGPTs that everyone uses. And you're going to give me the expertise between ChatGPT's premium and Claude as well. And kind of going into the
Yes.
two, I don't use Claude at all. I've heard good things about the premium version. Do you think it's to the level of ChatGPT, in your opinion?
Yes. Well, first, Neil, thank you for the podcast. And again, and this is a very good question, and it's actually hard to answer because we all have different perspectives on how we interact with ChatGPT and Claude. So I can tell you my perspective as a technical business person. So when it comes to ChatGPT is very good at logic, planning, creating documentation, giving you a business plan or steps to follow, and having very good arguments in terms of logic. I find it much more performant at that level than Claude. But Claude has a human touch because sometimes ChatGPT will tell you, as an AI model, I am not allowed to, sometimes it's a bit harsh. Claude, I find it like is more aware of the discussion and will remember better. So this is called the context of your discussion with the AI. Claude is better at remembering the context and changing its answers based on what you told it before. So these are the two fine differences that I experienced at the chat level when we chat with the paid versions. But I'm also a big user of the API version. So we can communicate with ChatGPT and Claude using the API to connect our software and do like 1,000 tasks at the same time. So that's another perspective that very few users are using unless you're technical. And that's where there is a cost element difference. So Claude is more expensive. You pay $15 per million tokens, and ChatGPT is $5 per million tokens for ChatGPT 4.0. So although Claude is better at computing and programming, I find Claude much better in terms of responses. So if let's say you want to develop an app and you're a non-coder, Claude will be one more beginner friendly than ChatGPT, and second will, from my experience, gives much better code that I can execute as a non-developer. So
Really?
for that part,
Do you think
yeah,
it's
for that
because of
part,
the prompt? It's easier for Claude to understand prompts for people that are not very good at prompting.
yeah, maybe it was trained differently. It just has a better attention span, I would say, Claude. When you tell it, I want an app that will take this and do that, it will output a code that is of higher quality than ChatGPT. And almost for 60%, 70% of the cases, I get my app or my development done better with Claude
Really?
3.5 Sonnet. Yeah.
Is that
So
also
for
because the
coding,
chat is longer term, Claude versus
exactly. Yeah. I
ChatGPT?
think I think that's one thing. And also there is the context window, how much data you can send to both AIs. So I think ChatGPT is 180,000 or 150,000, and Claude is 200,000. So you can send more data. It's like you can give it 100,000 words, and it will go through it and give you some. So I'm not sure exactly how it works behind, but my feeling as a user is that Claude pays more attention to the context and to the discussion of the human. But in terms of logic and planning, ChatGPT is much better.
Okay. That's interesting when you talk about logic and things like if you're looking at business planning a business,
Mhm.
ChatGPT is better than Claude.
Yes. So for like financial analysis, business plan, return on investment, all these kind of tasks, I think ChatGPT is better and gives like a more logic flow and organize it well for you.
But they're almost similar. They're so close to each other, right?
It's not a very big difference. Yeah, it's not a very big
What
difference.
about with all the then next week on the podcast, we're going to cover all the different forms of ChatGPT. If you have
Yeah.
the premium version, that then also the limits. Something that surprised the heck out of me is there are limits now.
Yes. Yeah, they
So
are.
why wouldn't you just go ahead and sign up and create another premium version and you can beat the limits? That's probably the best
No, they
thing is
have
create
been.
another email and then do other limits. Why is there limits now?
So they put limits on the higher models because they consume a lot of power resources. So usually and they both have limits. Claude also has limits actually. If you go hard and you ask a lot of things at the end of few hours, it will tell you now you have to wait 1 hour before your next prompt. So they put limits, but then what I notice is that when you can use the highest model, for example, ChatGPT 4.0, and then when you hit that limit, it will tell you, oh, you can use ChatGPT Mini or ChatGPT 3.5.
Yeah,
So
like if I was going to ChatGPT right now, and that's a great point, Mohammed, is if I
Mhm.
go right now, there's the 4.0 and then there's oh 01. Oh
Yeah,
01's
O1 will be
good. So
cheaper.
if you run out of 4.0, you go to oh 01 and then
You
oh
go to
01
O1. If
begins.
you run out of O1, you can go down to 3.5 turbo or and then the limits the lower the model is, the biggest allocation they give you.
And the first two or three are good enough to really do everything. Once you get back to the free version, it's garbage, isn't it? Pretty much
Yeah, once you get used to it and you can see the return on investment, yeah, you would stay on the paid premium, yeah,
the paid premium.
definitely.
So
Yeah.
Claude, what about if you went Claude non-premium versus ChatGPT non-premium, meaning free? Both free versions.
Yeah.
Which one's better?
Mm, yeah, it's hard to say. It's about the same price.
No, the free
Uh,
version. Free.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
zero
sorry, the free
dollar.
the free
Yeah.
version. It's about the same experience. I haven't really tested the free versions that much because as soon as I saw the advantage of the premium, I took both premium. So
Hey, so you're smart. You better invest in AI if you're the AI guru.
yeah, no, I
You
went
know what
all
I
in
mean?
and I pay for two things. I pay for the chat version premium and I pay for the API because the API you pay per queries. So we've been paying two services on each one of them.
This is really exciting to discuss this. I could talk hours for AI.
Yeah.
Now, so if you say that the thing that I was listening to in Marketing School podcast with Eric Sue and Neil Patel,
Mhm.
Eric is using has created his CFO on Claude. He says, I made my CFO be my on
Yeah.
Claude. So he said financial analysis because it's longer. ChatGPT is probably better, but the problem is if you do the same chat over and over again, it
Mhm.
stops working at one point in time. People don't know that. So, and it won't
Yeah.
remember. Like if you get into a conversation and you're trying to create something, you ask them questions in that chat 5 or 8 prompts earlier, they can't
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah, no, no,
Is
you're
Claude
right.
able
That
to
that's
find it?
also what I noticed. That's called the memory or the context. And I think that's where Claude is a little bit better. But they all have limits. This is one of the weaknesses of the AI model. I remember ChatGPT when it first came out, like after two prompts, he forgot what I was asking in the two messages earlier. It was like so frustrating at the beginning. And then he was making some jokes and I just wanted an answer. So we've gone a long way, Neil. I think both of them, Claude and ChatGPT, they have these what we call custom models. So if you go to the custom models of ChatGPT, you can find CFO assistant, financial planner. There is some customized model made by people or made by ChatGPT or Claude team that will become that they are trained or they are prompted in a certain way to give you better results for business plan analysis or legal advice. So they both have those custom models.
Hmm.
And
That's
yeah,
yeah, that's quite interesting. What else
yes.
do you think? So if Claude and ChatGPT, if you said what Artilla does is they're able to work with both of them, right? At the same
Yeah, well,
time.
that's what we do. We work with all of them. I'll give you another example. There is a small model that is called Phi 3 from Microsoft that is not very known in the, let's say, the common use. But then I find it much better at dealing with dates, with numbers, reformatting the phone numbers. So let's say I have thousands of leads with phone numbers, and I don't know what is the area code, and I don't know if it's Germany or US or Canada. Their ChatGPT is very bad, and Claude was also very bad. And then I find that another less known model was very good at that particular kind of data treatment.
I find this all fascinating for sure. And so if you would go, you would say Claude's better than ChatGPT or not? No.
For programming, for developing apps and programming and generating code, I would say Claude is way ahead of ChatGPT, and I was surprised because I really was a believer in ChatGPT first. But then when I started to get involved into coding, I just used Claude Sonnet 3.5 for coding tasks.
I'm going to Claude right now to see the pricing, what it would be.
It's also, I think
Interesting.
it's $20.
I'm going to my Google and signing up for Google for Claude. I think I already did, but let me make
And
sure.
also, there is another way to use these AIs, Neil. So even if we're not coders, so what I did is that I installed this app that is called Visual Code Studio, and there is this Copilot from GitHub. GitHub.com is the biggest platform for sharing code and developing apps. So I use that particular GitHub Copilot, and it's connected with ChatGPT and Claude, and it will make my code in my coding environment, which is fantastic. I don't need to go to chat with Claude or ChatGPT on their chat interface. I stay within my code files, and I'm editing my files, and the AIs are helping me in editing the files. It's amazing.
Okay, so you're going to take, so we got which one's better. I think I'm more interested in, I'm not in code and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
ChatGPT 4.0 is still better. If you're asking to have a conversation, which one's a better one to have a conversation with, Claude or ChatGPT?
ChatGPT. Unless you want a more human touchy feeling, then Claude will. I find it more on that side.
All right. Well, this is fascinating. We'll cover next Llama 3.0, and also go against Gemini next week on the podcast after we first go and break down all of what ChatGPT has. Amazing
Yes.
stuff, Muhammad. I continue to learn, and I don't. I'm not ready to go to the premium and Claude. I have good relationship with ChatGPT. I'm
Yeah.
able
Yeah.
to
That's good.
fix. I think the problem is when you say it's better, it's all about the prompter, isn't it? At the end
Oh
of the
yeah. The
day,
prompt.
and
Yeah.
understanding.
You're right. Prompting is 80-90% of the results. And then only on the last 10-20%, you're going to have real differences between the two models. But we improve 90% of our stuff with the prompting.
And that's where prompt engineers are very important. But we could talk about that in another
Indeed.
podcast. All right, best place
Indeed.
people can find if they want to automate their business today and be able to automate using Artilla, where can people go?
rtila.com, artila.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. You just look up Mohammed Esfi, and happy to give some guidance.
All right, thank you, Dr. Muhammad. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right,
Thank you,
you're
Neil.
listening and watching.